Screams louder.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are bringing back a car that we haven't really messed with in, how long has it been?
God, months? 3?
No,
More?
like 10?
Oh my God.
I think it's 10 months, maybe something else. This is my 1989 Foxbody Mustang. This thing was sitting out behind, I bought this thing 5 years ago, and it sat out behind the shop in the weeds, and I always had big plans. My goal was always I wanted to do a turbo LS Foxbody. I had this car that was like a turbo 2.3, I parted it out, I had the title and everything, and I was ready to go. I had a 6-liter, I had a 4LADE. The title got stolen, I lost momentum. This one popped up for sale, it was a notch. I said, how you doing? I like the notches.
That's a good style, I like that.
And this thing looks sick. So then we moved out to the new shop. I still had this thing. I ran across a great deal on a 2004, 2005 Chevy Express van. Those things come factory with a 4.8 LS and a 4LADE 2-wheel drive. Bought that thing, and we decided we wanted to go on Rocky Mountain Race Week 3 weeks before that it started. I was like, you know what? I have this Chevy Express van. We have a Mustang. Let's put these things together. Literally, we had 3 weeks. Obviously, we hadn't ordered any parts. We hadn't done any research. We said we have a running van and a shell of a Mustang. Let's go. I mean, literally, to this point, within 3 weeks and 1 day. So maybe 3 weeks and 3 days. So we were about 3 days late on starting on the Rocky Mountain Race Week journey. We just ran out of time. We did a Texas Speed cam. We did valve springs, retainers. I think we did push rods. We did head gaskets. We did this insane Garrett G42 1200 by the Garrett man himself. So Garrett did that, did this whole turbo kit. So we did truck manifolds, flipped forward, running up. You could see we kind of have like some bull horns, how they kind of go down and around over there. So a super awesome turbo kit. This turbo kit came together so nice. We have a big intercooler in the front, big 4-inch core. This is the Frostbite radiator from Holley. We have Holley fuel rails. We have a Holley Terminator X in here. We have a full Deatschwerks fuel system with a surge tank and like 3 fuel pumps. We have some BC Racing coilovers on it. We built the rear end. So this is a 8.8 rear end with some 31 or 35 spline strange axles. It has a spool in the rear. It has an anti-roll in the rear. It's got the 4, like the, you know, tubular control arms in the rear. Like this thing, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it came together in 3 weeks. I think.
Oh, and probably the biggest thing was a fully TIG welded chromoly roll cage. That was the other thing too. So Garrett actually welded this all in as well. So fully TIG welded. This thing should cert to an 850. Talking about certifications, that was kind of the reason we pulled out the Civic this last 2 weeks ago when Rudnick was here. We pulled this thing out because there's a chassis cert / test and tune. Basically the first event of the season, test and tune / chassis cert. Obviously this cage needs certified. The cage in here needs certified in order to run 850s and be legal. So I was like, cool, we'll get the Mustang ready, we'll get the Civic ready. Shot a rod out of it. Again, we kind of figured out the whole issue with that. The rod bolts broke. I think I over revved it. I 1-2-1'd it. But that's not really what we're talking about this video. So we really didn't give the Mustang a chance. Like, we didn't do much with it. We didn't go to the track. We basically went to the track once. No, I think I went another night. One more night, I took it out to the drags. But I think the fastest it went was like a 12 something. And the issue is we were hitting boost cut. Boost cut because it was over boosting. So we have a Garrett GVW 45, so this is a 45 millimeter wastegate. And just because of the, I guess, the time constraints that we had, we just were like, you know what? If we weld one wastegate on the housing, we will be done. Yeah. And it should work. So I think maybe if we change the angle of it a little bit, see how it's kind of flat and kind of how maybe the air kind of goes around it. So anyhow, I have a 6-pound wastegate spring in here. It will hold 6 pounds if you like roll into it, if you're on the highway, if you're in third gear, and you just roll into it gently, it'll 6 pounds, it'll just wastegate wide open. As you can see, wastegate obviously works fine, but what it actually does is when you kind of pull it down into first gear, you rev it out to, let's say, 6,500 RPM, it starts making some jam. You shift into second, it's really making some jam, it hits third, and it freaking sends right past 6 pounds, goes to, I think, It goes to about 20, and that's where I have the boost cut. What we're getting at is we need to control the boost. Whether we fix this thing, we change the angle of it, or we add the other wastegate, which adding another wastegate right now, if we add one to that side, then this bank is going to be bleeding off more, whereas this bank is going to have a little bit more back pressure. So we want to have it even. So it's like we either need to kind of fix this or block this off and do 2 separate wastegates kind of in an even position.
As close to the manifolds as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have it a little balanced.
One thing that I was kind of looking at though is you kind of see how the turbine housing, it rolls around, you know, it's like, imagine like a tornado or like a, you know, something like the water or, you know, the air is spinning around. With it kind of angled off to the side, maybe it kind of creates like a high pressure zone in there. Sure. Once it gets to a certain amount of volume, it says screw that. But then also we have it going in here and then at 90s over here and then at 90s going right there. So I think what we're gonna do, we wanna go drive this thing real quick. I wanna show you guys what it's doing. And then I think what we should just do right now is just go ahead, loosen this, twist this to the side. That way, you know, the air coming out is more so flowing a 90, you know, it's already kind of wrapping around, but if it doesn't have to change direction twice. So
it kind of does have a 90 up, 90 out, and then again, a short 90 up, but yeah, I like the thought process there. If we can kind of keep it in line with the air travel, would be good.
Yeah, and so the other option is to going with a bigger wastegate, like a 60 millimeter. Garrett only makes a 50 millimeter. There is a Turbo Smart that is local. It's a 60 millimeter gate, so that honestly might be the move. If this can't work, maybe we could do that. Obviously, I'd like to stick with the Garrett and the Garrett, you know, with the Garrett, you know, make them all work in harmony together. But if we have to, we could switch over to the other one or just run the 2 wastegates. But I like the idea of 1 wastegate because it's less vacuum lines going all over the engine bay and control. And then if you switch a spring, you have to switch 2 springs, and it's like, and it looks cool. I think it kind of looks cool right here. So we're gonna flip that. We're gonna take it for a drive. I'm gonna take Garrett for a drive and see what he thinks.
Okay.
Let it go. Do it. Yeah,
These tires are so sticky, they're picking up river rocks.
big ones. Did you see it?
Yeah.
So it'll hold 6 pounds. So I don't know if the GoPro caught the little boost gauge on the Holley, but on the top right corner, that is the boost. And when it's good, it's okay. And when it goes and it's like little cut zone, it turns yellow. First gear was good. Second gear was pretty good.
It's fun, man. It rips.
Third gear, like that high load in third gear is when this thing, that's when it hits the boost cut. But I was even kind of pedaling it a little bit. It went up to 20 pounds. It was like 18 cut, and that was it. So what do you think of 20 pounds?
That's pretty good. It'd be nice if we could just have it at 20 PSI the whole time, but
it keeps sending past it. I'm assuming it's going to send it past it, but I'm not going to let it do that because it has a 6-pound spring. It should run 6 pounds. It should run 6 pounds. Like that's what it should do. Maybe creeping up to like 14 I could see or something like that. The bad thing is it's just so erratic. It's not good. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and swap. We're going to twist the wastegate around. We're going to pull the top line off of the gate. I have the boost controller and it's going number 1 is in, number 2 is out, and number 2, as long as this isn't pulsing, it vents off. So this should vent back out. So we'll pull the line off of the top of the gate. We'll flip it to the side. We'll go out. We'll basically duplicate that run that we just did and see if that changes it. And honestly, if that changes it, then we're good to send.
Oh, God. before we did all that.
Kind of makes a little bit more sense, you know, like the flow is coming out, you open that and it'll kind of tornado right out of there. Like Garrett went ahead and did a little bit of porting. There was a kind of a square edge kind of right there. So went ahead, kind of ported it, smoothed it out going back. And I think just for funnies, we're gonna see if we go and drive this thing with no wastegate on it, if it'll even hit any boost at all. I feel like if it hits boost right there with that big of a hole just doing nothing, then obviously it's terrible placement and there's no getting around it. Yeah, that would be crazy if it did. But you know, I mean, we have a little testing facility right up front, so we might as well just give her a test, see if it works, and go from there. You definitely see there's less exhaust going out of the, like out of the like you can see there's a lot of it just going out. So wastegate is going back on. That pull, nothing happened. It didn't even make a pound of boost. It went to like 0.09, so it was still technically kind of in a little bit of vacuum, which kind of makes sense because there is a turbo on it. Even at wide open throttle, it's still, even if it was at 0 technically, like in, you know, sea level, will still probably be in technically some sort of a vacuum here because there's less barometric pressure here. Figuring it out, like as you can tell, we don't want to take the wastegate off of the housing just because it's already there. It looks cool. This is Garrett's it's Garrett's new wastegate. It's their turbo. Obviously they helped you know, with this build and stuff, so it's cool to have it like front and center to kind of display their wastegate. And again, I just think it's not anything to do with their wastegate, it's just the placement of it in the potentially, you know, that. So it's basically our fault, but it is cool to have it there. So I don't know if it would be nice if they made like a 60 mil. The next one they have is a 50 mil, and I don't know if that would do much. I mean, I'm sure it would probably help. So we'll go for a little rip and we'll see what she does. So that was some pretty good news right there. This thing literally held 5.9. I don't even think it hit 6 pounds. I know. It was right there. And literally the only thing that we did was port the housing. Well, actually, the only thing that Garrett did was port the housing. So, I mean, maybe that was it. Because it did have a little, little edge there.
90s to kind of work around. And that really, it just, you can look down the port now. You're looking right at the exhaust inlet to the turbine housing. It's a much better setup. I love it. Yeah. So I mean, it's so just that. And the crazy thing is, these housings, these Garrett stainless exhaust housings, they're like a ½ an inch thick. So right there in that, like taking off, there was literally like a little 90 sticking out, kind of in the middle of the flow path. That's awesome. So 5.6 pounds or whatever, 5.9 pounds just right there. That's the wastegate spring. So now we can add the boost that we want, not let it be uncontrollable. I want to be the master of the boost and tell it what I want, other than just letting it do what it needs to do. So now that has kind of figured out, the next thing that we need to do is tranny temps are getting pretty hot.
So just from those two little poles right there, they're about 200 degrees, which is 4L80. Like they don't like to be hot. The tranny cooler that I have is right here behind the bumper. You can see it goes right there. It sticks out on the bottom a little bit, and you know, it's just kind of one of those things. We definitely need to change some things with it. I do have a little fan right here, so this is like a little 8-inch or 6-inch like oil cooler fan. And what I've seen on a lot of other cars, like drag cars and stuff specifically, is they will run the cooler up underneath the back, like by the back axle or underneath the trunk, and then just run that fan to it. So that might be kind of the option, because there's not very many options up here to do anything with it. So I don't know, maybe just kind of start looking into that. Also, I want to get rid of this stock seat in here. Again, this was just like a last minute, like let's get to the track. So I have this seat that I want to pull out. I do have like this NRG seat up there that we could technically put in there. We have the brides, but I don't know. That would kind of give it like some Tokyo, like some Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift vibes if we did the brides in there. Or I have a Sparco seat, which is the same one that is in the Corvette right now. So that might be another option too. The other thing I want to do is some sort of a trans brake. Right now we are doing the sloppy third gear lock, to where basically locks itself in third gear, and then we put it down in first, or we lock it in third, we come off of the button, it goes into first, and then it launches. So a couple things to do, but now we could focus, like, and that's why we spent the time figuring this out. First time this thing's been on the lift in a long time. So tranny cooler relocation, we're gonna move that to the back. And then one of the biggest things that we need to do right now is it actually has a decent exhaust leak over here on the passenger V-band. So you can't really tell, but like when it's running, it never seated right. When I think I welded it like on the engine stand, like with it all together, but then when we put it back on, then things moved a little bit. So we actually have, this is a slip fit, but it's like a double one, right?
Yeah. So basically it's
Slip.
It's able to keep the exhaust pressure in better than, you know, just a normal single slip. So those two kind of slide over each other. That gets welded to that. However, we kind of choose to have that fitted, and then that just kind of go up in the middle right there, kind of do a job. So
yeah, that'll be nice, because then basically as soon as we cut this, that V-band will go back into position where it needs to be, and then we could kind of wiggle this, whatever we need to do. And it'll also give it the ability to expand, contract, do whatever without blowing out. Because if we did, let's say we had a nice flex in there, if we're on the two-step and it's popping and banging and exploding in that, then I mean, I know Cletus, they had an issue like that. They ran like a season, but then they got up on the two-step one day, bam, blew out their bellow. Exactly. So this thing we plan on ripping for a while. So
yep.
Also, you can see we got the tranny, or the oil pan. We definitely needed to get a shallower one. I don't know, I got this part number one because I thought that was the right part number. Tranny looks like it's a little drippy somewhere, and then right here we have the rear tranny seal kind of leaking. We got the subframe connectors in here. We have the rear end, we got the braces, we got the arms, we got the BC coilovers, we got the fuel lines, we got Deatschwerks fuel system in that unit. It's got it. This thing's got it. Like, it doesn't have a 10-second pass under its belt though.
Well, now that it's under control, we're getting a lot closer to that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you were like what, 70% pedal most of the time at most.
Well, and like even at the track, I was like literally going to like 20 to 30% throttle, but it was still sending it, you know. So you can see as soon as Garrett cut this, it spread apart quite a bit. So there's definitely some tension, and this V-band isn't even seated correctly now too. So
you might be able to tighten it down, and it might even suck it over more.
Well, I think we need to loosen it because it's definitely crooked. It's not. So I think it needs loosened, reseated, and then.
So it's not even it's misaligned.
It's misaligned. Yeah, it's not happy. This thing's gonna hit boost way sooner. All right, so we got the tranny cooler wrapped up underneath. One of the next things that we need to do is, I've been considering putting a hood on here just because, I mean, obviously it's really cool. I like showing off the engine bay. You know, part of me doesn't even want to put a hood on here, but maybe a hood might work. So we have this hood outside. Garrett, what do you think of that hood?
It's something.
You like it?
It's a something. It's a hood.
So this
Leaves
is
a little bit to be desired, but
this is a hood that a buddy gave me, and somebody tried to glue a thing on it.
yeah.
And as you can see, it's not on there very well.
I want to know. I can look at this like body filler right here.
Yep.
I want to know how much like fiberglass, and kitty fur and body filler were put on here to try to make this work.
I mean, obviously, I know we can make it work because we have grinders and cutters here. So at that point, all it is how much grinding and cutting do we want? All right, go ahead.
Plyometrics.
Do you need
4 day?
Do you need help? Let's see. Look at that precision. Oh, I like it already.
I mean, it's
actually
not an ugly look.
It kind of looks good with a hood. And then especially the little cowl, like it kind of looks good with the hood. I wish that like the tip of the top of the turbo was just kind of peeking
out.
Just peeking. But yeah, I mean the alternator is kind of our biggest thing right now, and then obviously the exhaust, and then a little bit of the intake manifold. So it kind of looks good. Like I could fix the hood though. Like I could give it the fix. The thing about it though is right now the hood matches the rest of the car. It looks like it's like a patina hot rod hood. So it kind of matches. Like I don't know if this thing's gonna fly off or not, but I guess we'll
gotta pin it maybe at some point. But yeah,
we might have to throw some panel bond in there somewhere, drill some holes, and do something to it because it kind of looks a little sketchy. But all right, so Garrett got through kind of going through the first test cut of this thing, and that's pretty close. So we actually scooted the hood forward a little bit because it was kind of clipping some things right here. But once this actually goes down, since the pipe is angled back, this will actually close that gap. So we'll kind of have to oval it out a little bit more here in the back. But overall, it looks really good. But I kind of distracted him a little bit. I was like, hey, what do you think about seat brackets? And he's like, well, before we leave for the day, let me take a look at this. So we're trying to get another seat in here. Obviously, these stock seats are not the greatest. They'd be okay for a passenger, but like, I obviously have harnesses. There's no through hoops for the harness. Like if something were to happen, like the thing could slip off my shoulder, like it wouldn't be a good thing. So I have this Sparco seat, and we're trying to mount it to the stock rail with these brackets, but they might be a little bit, the seat's a little bit too wide. So we're dealing with about 14 inches in there. The seat's about 16, 16 and a half, 17. So we're kind of on the edge. So Garrett might actually take these things home tonight. He has a bender, and you'll basically just kind of bend another little kick into it, right?
If we need to. I think with the combination of the different seats that we have here and rails, we can get the width we need just because they're slotted. The other thing is just trying to get the bolt holes front to back to reach that span. We got a lot of things to try to make it all work. Fortunately, we have everything here to make that happen. We just got to maybe cut and grind and reshape some things.
And I was looking, I have like tons of random seat brackets around the shop. Like these ones are out of like an Evo 10, which I think these were the brackets that came with these seats because the guy had an Evo 10. So I have like some Evo 10 seat brackets. I have some Bride seat brackets. We have this planted seat bracket out of an R32. We have the NRG seat out of an R30. Like there's lots of things. So I was trying to get a seat to where I feel more comfortable driving the car, because that was just kind of a last minute throw it in there so we could go to the track. Now we have a little bit of time. Let's make it nice. All right, is this the winning combo right here?
Winning combo, the winning math.
Here we go. We got some washers. We got some spacers. We got this thing spread out basically as far as it'll go.
So basically what it broke down to is factory Foxbody rails. These brackets were meant for Evo 10, right? And the reason we did these is because the spacing front to back on the rail, perfect. We had to use spacers because of the mechanisms here, not a big deal. And we got about 16 1/4 between our bolt points. The seat is 16 1/2.
And then it does this.
Yeah, there you go. Everything's kind of loose right now too, but I figured we'll drop the seat in here while we have that little bit of flex, bolt the seat in, tighten the bolts front and down, up and down, and I think we can call it done.
Yeah,
this is probably one of the easiest.
That's
goes
exciting because I would like a nice seat in here because this one's a little sketchy right there. You know what we should probably do is put one over here too.
Probably,
or
at the very least, some harnesses.
So yeah, this one needs some harnesses because this thing's faster than it should be for what is currently in here. I should probably remove that carpet too. Look at that carpet flapping around. I wanted to put the full interior back in here, make it look like it had a full interior, but
it's not a bad. That's not
I don't know. I don't know. Hey, don't scratch the cage. So what we'll do is if it don't go in, I'll just sit in it. Look at that. I could get that gangster lean with this thing.
Heck yeah.
All right, so seat is in. What do you think?
Definitely an improvement, that's for sure. We got a little bit of room to make more improvements, I guess. The big thing is we're a little bit misaligned. I definitely think it's doable. You could drive this way, but we're here. We might as well make it right. I think we're gonna try to scoot over.
Yeah, you could even just see where your knee is compared to that.
Yeah, like if you put, that's a good inch at least that we need to go over. So,
and you could stick your fist down here too. Yeah. So we got plenty of room to come over.
So I think the game plan is we had to use washers to raise up the seat brackets anyways. I think what I'm gonna end up doing is cutting basically some 3/16 plate with 2 bolt holes, basically just a big rectangle, 2 bolt holes. We'll weld that to the seat rail, and that'll help us to move the seat over that extra inch. I think that's a nice, simple solution for that.
Yeah, well, cool. So he's gonna cut that stuff tonight at his house, and then I guess we'll get back to this thing tomorrow and get the seat officially mounted, get the tranny cooler fan officially done, the hood officially done. We'll get some E85 stuck in this thing. I got my Holley can cable today, so like now we can sit there and go on some things. It's ready for a send.
Oh man,
I think.
Totally different car.
All right, so there's the hood. I just love the patina on the hood. Like the fact that the hood is just so trashy, it just matches it. Like I really feel like it looks like we took somebody's old race car, like out of the back of their garage, and like we just brought it in and kind of sprinkled a little turbo LS, type of thing. Like this used to be a drag car that probably ran a 17-second, with like a 5.0,
right.
And then we're like, you know what, actually let's change this up a little bit. Yeah. So the next thing that we're dealing with this situation is what? Just the wastegate.
The wastegate, yeah. So the wastegate, you can't really tell, but yeah, it's gonna be like in this kind of area. It's gonna be kind of gnarly, if we had to cut into the cowl and all that stuff. It's not the most beautiful thing, and it doesn't have a straight line on it, but we kind of want to make it look, professional. So I think what we're going to do is try to maybe relocate the wastegate, the dump on that anyways. See if it'd be nice if we could reuse what's already there and just kind of do a quick mod, but we kind of want to, exit somewhere like in this vicinity. So I think we'll do that, and then mechanically, I think the car's done. We're down to like the seat and the fan for
seat and the fan,
trans.
I do like this. I like the choo-choo pipe. I just love the patina on the hood. Like it just looks it just fits it so well. Like this car, it's growing on me like as we go. Like obviously there's always been a soft spot for this car for me, but like now that it has the hood and it's just coming together a little bit more, it's just getting better.
That's what was left of that little bit of taper.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a misalignment, but it was close enough, better than just a 3/4 or inch and 3/4 to 2.
Yeah. Okay. Check this out. Check this out, buddy. I'm just here doing your job. Look at that, buddy. Ooh. Almost.
Almost. Little trim. Little,
That's
little
getting
length.
that's getting close. So that looks nice.
Yeah.
All right, so Garrett has been on the inside welding these things up, so looks pretty good.
Not too bad. It does the trick. Basically the same thing on this side. I didn't really film it or anything, but same idea, just that one's offset by an inch or so.
We could actually mount this seat in there and have an official like race car with this unit. So good progress. The only thing really, I mean, at this point, what do we gotta do? The wire for the tranny cooler, and we gotta fill it with tranny fluid.
Oh.
We gotta add some tranny fluid to it. But other than that, it is looking really good. Sorry for the noise, it's kind of gotten cold. We're kind of messing with some trailer things, but I love this thing. So he went ahead and finished up with that, so you can see the angle of everything kind of matches. But I think it just looks good. And so here is the tranny cooler up underneath the car. Looks pretty good. Garrett, what do you think?
It's definitely gonna do the job. Better than it was up front.
So we're basically just tying this to the stock, the fan right now. I don't think I have any more inputs and outputs on the Terminator X, so maybe we'll do some sort of a tranny fluid temp sensor later, or a switch or something like that. But as of right now, it should turn on and run and do all that stuff. Pretty much now I just need to run a ground to it, put some more fluid in it.
Yep.
And then seat's mounted, it's bolted in. Yeah. Really just tranny fluid, and this thing should be ready to kind of fire and do something.
Be ready to go, yeah.
Ready to do something, that's right. We get this thing loaded up. See you guys in the next video.